David. Sky. Pale, pale blue, with clouds like candy floss. Remember, when we first moved here, every evening I'd come in here to watch the sun go down. Well, the first few times you joined me, and then you said, one sunset was like any other, and you got better things to do. Well, I probably had too. But it's an old woman's privilege to do what she wants, especially if what she wants to do is nothing at all. Besides, why else had we moved here, if not for evenings like these? So, I'd sit by myself and watch the day end. Only the last few months have been different. You beside me, holding my hand, as the light fades and the mountains disappear. Do you remember the first time we held hands? Our first date. I'd asked you to take me to the fun fair, and you were not impressed. Well, you were a young lawyer with ambition, not some teenager with nothing to do. But you took it in your stride. Okay, you said, and off we went. It was the middle of the summer. Hottest day of the year. You were sweating and trying not to show it. There were children all around us screaming. But I didn't hear them. All I heard and saw was you. 5'10", slim, handsome, quiet and polite. Pig-headed too. It took me time to find that out. I wanted to go on the roller coaster, and you pretended it was a good idea. So you waited till I was seated with my skirt tucked under me, and then you got in, pulled down the safety bar, and without even asking, took my hand. Oh, well, of course. Other boys had held my hand, but they only wanted one thing. One hand across my shoulder, casually reaching down, the other slowly moving up my leg. But of course, none of them got as far as they wanted. Although 2 or 3 got close. Well, I didn't blame them. I envied them. Girl or boy, when you're that age, your bodies and emotions pull you this way and that. I wanted to do what they were doing. Give them what they wanted. Get what I wanted myself. But back then, it was hard for women. Well, yes, there was the pill and free love, but I still didn't know what was right. Right for you, right for your boyfriend, or for your parents waiting at home. So I just sat tight and did nothing and hoped that was the right thing for me. But you didn't try anything. Your hand just sat there holding mine like it was saying, I'm here if you need me. I like that. Even when we were tearing down that slope, rushing around every curve, jerk this way and that, me against you, you against me having the time of my life, and you pretending to have fun. The biggest thrill I had all that day was your hand holding mine. How old were you? 28. And I was 22. Still a virgin, living at home. And there we were, in the same office, like in some film. Me, a new secretary. You, a lawyer, with a reputation for being difficult. Dark eyes. And one of those thick moustaches that were fashionable then. Well, everyone knew you had a girlfriend, so I wasn't interested. Then, one lunchtime, you told me that you'd broken up. Well, from then on, I looked at you every time you passed my desk. And you looked right back. The next thing I knew, we were on that roller coaster. The first hint of pink. Blue darkening. The sun hanging between the clouds and the horizon. All warm and golden. Never stays, does it? Sunset should last for as long as we want them to. Daylight today should never end. We should stay here forever, you and I. You may not have sat with me, but I've never watched a sunset alone. You've always been somewhere in the house. As the last light faded, and I sat here in the darkness, I felt you beside me. So close, my hand never needed to reach for yours. Well, of course, I never told you. Such things embarrassed you. Words lied, you said. They either say too little or too much. Well, I thought you meant the words that lawyers use in documents and court. And I was wrong. No, you respected those words. They were so transparent. No. The words you distrusted were the ones we use on the phone, in the street, with strangers or friends. Words that tumble out of our mouths. Words that come without thought, or with malice. It was better to say nothing than to say the wrong thing. So you said little. I said little to you. You did say you loved me on our wedding day. Once or twice before. Well, I didn't mind. I was happy in my new job, at home with you, and in bed, where we made love, no matter how little we said. I never regretted that there was no one before you. Made you love me more. Well, on our wedding night, I was scared that I wouldn't please you. But you were so kind and considerate. It seemed as if our marriage was going to be perfect. And for a few years it was. And then the children came and changed my life. They lost me my job and my freedom. They very nearly lost me my husband. I wish I could have loved them all from the very first moment I felt them stir. Equally, blindly, overwhelmingly. Well, I tried. Oh, God knows I tried. But it wasn't joy that they brought me. It was responsibility and resentment. Well, the children turned me into my mother. Every morning her face stared back at me from the bathroom mirror. And I spoke to them It was her voice I heard. And I loved my mother. But I wanted to be myself. With each nappy I washed, every tantrum I soothed, I felt myself slipping further and further away. Oh, you, David, lucky man, you were the ideal father. You loved the children neither too little nor too much. At the end of the day, you gave them your time and attention. And you never understood how much I wanted to be free of them. And free of our home. Dark, airless rooms and a tiny bathroom in our first flat. A house that was always cluttered with their noise and their toys. Well, when there was only Tom and he was little and asleep, he could still be alone. But after Richard came, well, there was never a moment when one or the other of them wasn't awake and demanding our attention. Oh, you helped with nappies and discipline. But it was never enough to relieve me of the burden of being a mother. Pink spread across every cloud. You never see it change. But suddenly, the sky is different. It's like children. You suckle them every day. And then, suddenly you realise that they'll never again grasp for your breast. Then, I breathed a sigh of relief. But now, I wonder. For so many years, I knew so little. Well, I thought I was smart. I knew which of our friends had something to hide, which of the children's teachers was all bluster and talk, and at work, or whether a client was serious or wasting my time. But it took me years to find out about your women. Well, the first I knew of was when Tom had just started school. Mary something, a property owner who used you to sue her tenants. One day I just put two and two together. The evenings spent away, the sudden affection you showed me, and suddenly I knew. Another, never knew her name, when Richard was in primary 4. Oh, there were others, I'm sure, but I didn't want to know. Didn't want to rub salt into my own wound. I never said anything. To you or anyone else. I didn't want to admit failure. Or beg you to give them up. I wasn't sure what to do. Do you remember that summer when I read all those feminist novels? Well, I thought I'd found the answer. I could walk out of our home, take the car, train or bus to some town I'd never been to before, and start my life again. I would be free. I thought about it for a week. Even looked out the clothes I would take. Wondered whether to aim for London or Manchester. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't take the children. And I couldn't leave them. There was no new life for me. I couldn't be free. could only be me. And me was staying at home with you and the children, with a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, like on the roller coaster going down. Down. Always down. I never blamed you, David. Well, maybe you weren't the man I wanted you to be. A sensitive new man who would feel my pain. But I'd chosen you, and you had kept most of the bargain. I had to lie in the bed I made. Even if there were times I was lying alone, wondering who you were with, and which of us had failed, me in keeping you, or you in being faithful. Yeah, you were faithful in your fashion. You came home each night, no matter how late. You paid the bills. You were never violent and seldom angry, and you never threatened to leave. Because you loved me, didn't you? Love has so many meanings, and it changes so much. Or maybe it's not love that changes, but the one who is loved. I was no longer the pretty young woman that you took to the fun fair, with the smile that you liked and the quiet personality. I was your wife and housekeeper and the often sour-faced mother of your children. And for that at least you gave me your respect. And then you took me out to dinner one night after Lisa had just started school and said offhandedly that if I wanted to return to work, we could afford a childminder. I could keep whatever money I made. Well, my first thought was, how patronising, offering me pocket money for makeup and clothes. And then I realised you were offering me my life back, my freedom, and I felt like shouting for joy. And you sat there with an uncertain smile on your face, surprised at how happy I had suddenly become. But it wasn't easy finding work, and no estate agent wants a 40-year-old woman who doesn't know the business and hadn't worked for years. But Harry tolerated me, gave me letters to type, and only let me show houses when the others were busy. Wife of a friend, he'd tell prospective buyers. Talk business to me. And I soon found my feet. Took responsibility. Harry was surprised. The others too, when they saw their commissions slipping away. Oh, life was fun. It was exhilarating. Like the roller coaster, climbing high. I started my own business. Well, not just as an agent, but buying and selling and letting too. I wanted to be as good as that first mistress of yours. And I proved myself her equal in more ways than one. Robert. He was as good looking as Jeremy Irons in his heyday. Married too, thank God. And unlike you, he could talk as well as listen. I'd ring him when the office was empty. We'd meet for lunch, and then go through the pretense of night showing in houses before checking into a hotel. Well, the first few times, I returned home guilty, horrified that I was betraying you and the children. But then I saw, as years before you must have seen, that we can keep our lives in separate compartments. Evenings, the weekends, it was you and the children. And the days were for Robert. We might have married, or if we'd been single. He asked me once. I think we were both relieved when I said no. It ended soon after. And I wondered about another affair. Someone different, a younger man, or an artist, or a foreigner, French or Italian. They were just fantasies. Too many people would notice. I even thought about a toy boy, but he would have demanded too much and offered too little. Besides, by then, you knew. An old letter from Robert in the back of the drawer. Well, you should have kept quiet. Because I wouldn't confess to Robert until you confessed to your women. And you denied it. Your voice rose. Well, it was good for once to hear you expressing some emotion. And then Lisa came in. She was used to my anger, but not to yours. You reassured her and put her back to bed. Tomorrow, we said. We'll talk about it then. For the first time, you called in sick. And then, when the children were at school, we were free to talk and yell. Oh, yes, my dear, you yelled. And accuse and defend. You insisted your women meant nothing to you. Well, why should I believe you, I wanted to know, when you never tell me anything? I'm a man, you said. That's what men do. Oh, and what am I asked. My wife, you said? Oh. And is that praise or an insult? Well, for a moment you were confused. It's praise, you said. Couldn't be anything but praise. It didn't end there. It took months for you to accept that Robert was over and that there wasn't anybody else. And for months I watched your every move with suspicion. There were long, angry silences, weak accusations. Well, the children knew what was happening, but didn't know who to blame. But in the end, we came to a silent agreement. Some kind of justice. Whatever we'd done, we had tried to protect each other and the children. In our own way. Both been faithful. Sunset's almost gone. It's just shadows and darkness. 3 dimensions reduced to 2. Soon there'll only be 1. I should switch on a lamp, but not yet, my darling. Not yet. We picked up the pieces. Slowly, we fell in love again. But we were adults, falling for the person we knew, not youngsters infatuated by the unknown. I saw it in your eyes, heard it in your voice. Kindness that for years that had been little more than politeness became kindness again. I had a husband who was 50, putting on weight and losing hair, whom I didn't see for most of the day. But he was a husband who loved me and had come back to me. A man with a sharp mind and dry sense of humour. A few quirks, rugby internationals, lack of dress sense, which I could easily tolerate. Well, I only had to listen to the complaints of friends and neighbours. Oh, he never washes, he drinks too much, oh, he's too friendly with the neighbours' daughters. To remind myself how lucky I was. And then, one by one, the children left home. At first, we thought Tom would follow you. But he had neither the intelligence nor the dedication to study law. So, we gave him the deposit for a flat and watched, while he tried jobs and girlfriends, until he married and became, of all things, a car salesman. A good father and husband in his own way, but I can never look at him without disappointment. Well, Richard should have been the lawyer. Thoughtful, intense, hard-working, and like you, happy to be alone. Too alone. His focus was always elsewhere. Well, he'd disappear into his room, and it would be so quiet, well, I would think he was asleep. So I'd go in and find him reading. And he'd look up at me as if I were a stranger, hoping I'd quickly go away. There was always something lost about him. I loved him the most, but he was always so distant, I could never get near him. Oh, and Lisa. Oh. Well, I thought that age and experience with the boys would have made me a better mother. She always seemed to be someone else's child, tolerating me only because she had to. She had all the vices, all the feminine vices, and none of the virtues. Always wrapping you around her finger. Well, you let her get away with it, David. Because you had no expectations for her. She was the girl and the youngest. Didn't represent you the way the boys did. So she grew up to be intelligent and empty-headed. Popular, but selfish and demanding. The most unlikable of the three. Never able to settle, always changing homes and jobs, and never able to find a partner. It had to be Richard, the child we loved the most. He drifted from school to university, to politics, to protest, to drugs and despair. The boy who had no friends, who saw injustice everywhere. The young man who was always alone. Oh, I knew about the drugs long before you did. Don't like alcohol or tobacco, Mum. It's okay as long as you know what you're doing. The most passionate I ever heard him speak. But what can you say? How do you reach out to a 23-year-old when you're over 50 and you've got no idea of the life he leads? I saw the hurt, but I could never understand where it came from. I could never do anything about it. But I could see it, and I could feel It's all gone. Can't tell where the sky ends and the horizon begins. The end of the day. Start of a long, long night. I'd never seen you cry before. But your eyes were damp at the funeral. And later that day you shouted at Lisa. And she said something typically insensitive. I heard you in the bedroom. And I came in and you looked at me and tried to smile. But you couldn't hold back the tears. I sat beside you and held you. All day, I'd been crying for Richard. But at that moment, I was crying for you. The next day, you told me it was time to retire. I saw how old you had become. You thought I wanted to keep going. But I had worked so as not to spend my days alone. Well, we could be proud of ourselves. Your partnership, one of the best in the country. My portfolio covering 4 counties. Quit. Moved here, up in the hills, with no people around us. We've had 8 years together. 8 wonderful years. Without work, without children, with time to read and relax, explore, develop new talents. Your wooden ducks parading up the living room wall. My primitive paintings stacked away. Well, the end, I thought, of the roller coaster ride. Age changes personalities. Well, a stranger looks at you, sees a crotchety old man. I see a hard-working, honest man, kind in his way, a man wise enough to know what he's achieved and where he's failed. I see almost all of you. Your skill with wood, your political views, your inability to express what you feel. So much more. Behind it all, I see a handsome 28-year-old, tense with energy and ideas, a tentative smile, holding my hand. Eight years of happiness before it began to crumble. Your stroke. Gasping for breath, staring silent and helpless as I waited for the ambulance to come. The ride through the night, the harsh light of the hospital. Thank God we got you out of there and brought you home. But how different, how uncertain life became. You were so tired, your words unclear. It was easier to communicate with silence and gesture. Oh, and then Tom and Lisa came back into our lives, insisting that we move in with one or the other of them. Well, I would have done if you'd wanted to, but no, you said. You wanted to be here alone with me. Is that okay with you? You wheezed. Of course it was, my love. Of course it was. But how delicate it became. How dependent. Well, at least the doctor and the carers made house calls, and between us we managed. I would have hated to leave you in hospital, or have a stranger living here. I needed to be alone with you. So day after day you've sat here, dozing, reading or watching the TV. I've sat beside you, or bustled around. Every now and again our eyes would meet. At times you would speak. But it was easier just to look, smile. I pretended it wasn't true, that you had begun to fade. The man I'd loved for over 40 years was drifting away. Today was like every other day. This morning I took you out into the garden and suggested we cut down the dead laburnum. Over lunch, we listened to The World at One. Once you would have commented wryly on the day's events. Today, you said nothing. You slept for much of the afternoon, while I wrestled with one of my canvases. I once said, I take painting too seriously. Nonsense, you said. You're getting better. I was in the kitchen when I heard the noise. I rushed in and found you half out of your chair. I strained to push you back, felt your weight, heard your breath, and at last you were upright, and I reached for the phone. At that moment, you seemed to hiccup. Your head fell, and the light in your eyes died. I knew what was happening, and I reached forward and felt for your pulse. Caught your last heartbeat. My darling, I whispered. I love you, my darling. I love you. I love you. I love you. Until you'd gone. Then I straightened up and kissed the top of your beautiful bald head. Before I turned to see the last rays, it was our first rays of the sunset. And now I must call the doctor. Who knows who else? Tom and Lisa. Oh, and Lisa will break down and accuse me of bringing you home too soon from the hospital. And Tom will try and take charge. There'll be cars and footsteps. And strangers will come into our home. And they'll measure you and wrap you and take you away. And in a few days, there'll be the funeral, which I shall hate. And then, eventually, Tom and Lisa will go home. And I'll find myself back here alone, knowing my darling, my husband, my love, that never again will I see you. And never again will I watch another sunset.